Hi, this is Abdullah Oskay from BAZ Girişim. Today we host Guillaume Bonadei. He is a former trade representative and he lived in many countries. He is from France and he lived also many Asian countries. Today we discuss the Turkish companies in a fragmented world. What does Turkish companies do? Guillaume, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, and thank you for hosting this discussion.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Guillaume Bonadei. I'm 40 years old. I'm French, as you mentioned, and I have a long life experience working and living in abroad. After I graduated from business school in Paris, I went to China, and I stayed in Beijing for 10 years. During those 10 years, I worked within Chinese companies. Then I joined the French Chamber of Commerce in China, where I was in charge of the business services. So basically all the consulting to help French companies find partners in China, setting up activities in China. And I also learned to work with Chinese companies to take them to Europe afterwards. After this, I joined private SMEs in automation manufacturing for agriculture industry. I was in charge of China first, China business development, and then my scope broadened to Asia. So I was covering many countries like India, Malaysia, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, of course, China. So it was a very big territory, and it got me opportunities to work with different culture in Asia and understand a bit more what's the difference between each countries. After this, I went back to France to start my own startup. It was a startup based in technology for healthcare. But after pivoting the activities, the core business was not in line with what I can bring to the company. So I decided to step out, sell my shares to my partners. So the company is still going, but me, I went through different adventures. COVID came, and I met a person who is actually my wife, who is a Turkish. She's a Turkish diplomat, and when she decided to move, she didn't decide, she had to go back to Ankara. I decided to leave France again and settle in Ankara with her. And when we married, because you have the experience, diplomats have to change country very often, and I had to make a decision for my career, what to do, if I want to be employee or other things. So I decided to start my own consulting company, Wukong, which helps foreign companies to expand their activities into Turkey. And I also want to help and work with Turkish companies to help them expand in markets I'm familiar with, most likely Europe and Asia. Right now, I'm in Rome because my spouse is posted at the Turkish embassy in Vatican now. So I'm in Rome for a couple of years before going back to Ankara again and then moving to other countries. So for me, it's great because I can develop new networks, new expertise in every country I go. So it's benefit for me and it's benefit for all the people I'm working with at the end of the day. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thank you again, Guillaume. I met with you from LinkedIn, and you shared many insights about the Asian business culture, China, France, and also the ongoing trade wars and the other things, many things. For example, you compare the Turkish business diplomacy and France business diplomacy and the other countries' business diplomacy. You have many great insights. Firstly, I want to ask you, what is going on in the world? Because we witnessed that there are trade wars between China and also Trump effect and also the other things. But, for example, the European Union do. For example, in the European Union market, there are also some backlashes about the technological backlashes and so on, because European Union cannot go on very well. Can you describe first the Chinese effect on international trade and also Trump effect, and also what does European Union do? And then after this question, I also raise another question about the Turkish positions. As you mentioned, what the Turkish companies do in the fragmented world.
Yeah, okay. So if we look at how the world is going, I think we all agree to say that now it's a bit messy and we're navigating from crisis to crisis since COVID. So we got COVID, Ukraine, a Trump election with a tariffs war. Now we have everything's going on in Middle East. If we look into Asia, we always have this China-Taiwan question, China, Philippines, Vietnam, like maritime war. We have Pakistan and India lately also crisis. So we entered a world where geopolitics became again very important. Business, as businessmen, are more and more a pressure to pick a side. We're back in this world like Cold War, when you either on the West or on the other side, and it's a very difficult position for business, because now it's more about not just selling, but limiting your exposure, limiting your risk. So before you would export, it would be or import byproducts, it would be about cost, about compliance. But now you try to look, will the country I'm working with will be sanctioned? Maybe the whole business will collapse and I have to find other solution. Or maybe for marketing reason, I'm working with a country and my customer will say, we don't want to work with you because you support this government or that government. So everything is more difficult. We've seen now also with these trade wars that shipping routes, access to some technologies can be critical, and you have to make the smart choice and look far ahead to know if the partner or the country you're working with will be an opportunity or burden for your business. So we can talk that the global village and the happy globalization, I think, is ending, and we're going towards something very more strategic, where you cannot. Before it was easy, you just say, oh, I want to go to this country, make a bit of research, find the right partner, and you can expect to do business. Right now, this is still possible to some extent, but you have to think far ahead about what risk I'm taking if I'm going there, which was not so important before. Now you can see, we hear about all those contexts, nearshoring, friendshoring, all those companies who try to change their supply chain, modify their supply chain to be less dependent of one country or one trade route. So we've seen, like lately, for instance, lots of people trying to get out of China and relocate their supply chain in near country, either Southeast Asia, Turkey for some European country, Africa. So there's a lot of shifting at the moment, which is challenging, but also source of opportunity. Here, Turkey, I think, to my it's my own vision, but Turkey has a unique position. First, geographically, you're at the crossroad of Asia, Europe, even Africa, Middle East. But also diplomatically, Turkey has a foot a bit everywhere. You're a NATO members, so you're like linked to the West. You have like trade union partnership with Europe. You're still candidate to enter Europe, but you also the Turkish diplomacy is agile enough to be friendly with Asia, Africa, Russia, even still. So this brings an advantage to have a fit in both worlds, and you are still free to go almost in any direction you want. So this is this is a good point. What it requires for companies to really be agile, use this opportunity, but still keep in mind that in the future, the wind might blow in another direction. So always keep in mind, follow what's happening in the world, follow where Turkey is going in terms of a nation, alliance, diplomacy, to see where will be the risk in the coming years.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are many crises all around the world. Maybe we can say that this is an era of the arc of crisis, and the golden age of the 2000s has already gone. And as you mentioned, Pakistan-India crisis, and also Iran-Israel crisis, and also Russia-Ukraine crisis. There are many crises all around the world. And Taiwan is the most probable crisis in the Asia-Pacific region. These are many crises all around the world, and this creates a fragmented world. And as you mentioned, Turkey has a good positions, and also Turkey is in the borderline between the camps, East Camp and West Camp. And also, as you mentioned, there are trade wars such as China, Trump, China, US trade wars, and so on. There is a friendshoring and reshoring activities all around the world. Turkey has a great chance because Turkey is a member of the customs union with the European Union, and I witnessed that many of the Chinese companies also invest in Turkey to get the certificate of origin to export their products to the European Union market and also United States market. These are the new dynamics. Also, I also witnessed that many of the Chinese companies are exit from the African market, and the Turkish companies, mainly with the collaboration of the European Union companies, Turkish companies mainly enter to the African market. This is also a general trend in the international arena I witnessed. These are the dynamics. And also, you shared many insights about the Turkish businessmen offices and so on. For example, you said that AHK and so on, and also France business models. What do you give insights about the Turkish business diplomacy? What are the businessmen organizations and so on do? What does the businessman organization do in the international area? Can you give some insights for them?
Yeah. From this better because you used to be at the Ministry of Commerce and Trade, so from the inside all of this. I can speak from my point of view from European and my insider view of the French ecosystem. So there are two things. When it comes to export, many countries have a specific dedicated agency. You mentioned AHK, ICE for Italy, Business France for France. So we have state agencies or private organizations that depends. ICE depends on Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Business France in France depends on the Ministry of Trade with connection to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it's basically an entry point for exporters, especially what we call primo exporters, those who don't have an experience and are exporting for the first time, to have access to service knowledge base to help them define their roadmap, priorities, which countries they should go based on their product, and they can provide one-to-one services at a subvention cost. So in general, costs are low because there is public fundings, money behind those organizations. They are also in charge of organizing all the what we call collective programs. So all the pavilion, German pavilion, Italian pavilion, French pavilion. So it's under this structure. Generally, they work with all the federation, business association, and so on, sectorial association. So this public organization will be the operating partner, whilst the other business association will be more the expert and bring all the members of the industry. So, for instance, if we talk about, I don't know, in Turkey, I was discussing with ICMIB not long ago. ICMIB is a very broad organization, but they were in Cosmoprof.
The biggest one. For the exporters union, the biggest one is ICMIB.
And they do chemical product. Chemical is very broad, you know. And there was this show Cosmoprof in Bologna, which is dedicated to cosmetics. So they gather all the companies from the cosmetic industry to come to Italy, and they organize the pavilion. So I think Turkey is lacking this kind of organization, either public agency or private. I haven't seen any kind of organization like as a Turkey, France, Turkey, Italy Chamber of Commerce, for instance, because Chamber of Commerce are very powerful. In general, they are private non-profit organization, which are built and managed by their members, and the members are the companies who are invested in the countries they belong to. And I think here it brings something that is maybe a weakness of Turkish business diplomacy. You are exporting, but you're not investing. You're not setting up office. You're not setting up factories in foreign countries. So your FDIs are quite low,
limited.
Limited.
It's about $60 billion. It's not
exactly
it's not too much, but like France, it is not huge.
When I ask about, you know, when I ask to trade attaché at the Turkish embassy about how many Turkish companies have invested in your country, it's like, oh, 60, 70, 80. It is like for Italy, it's small numbers, you know. When we look, I don't have the figures for France, but when I was in China, to give you an idea, the French chamber had 1,000 members, only French companies. And we were, the formal numbers were in China, maybe 1,000 invested French companies. Germany had 5,000.
Yeah, German houses are working very well in the international area. France also very good. And also I analyzed the French model, German model, and the other countries' model. I understood that French has coordinators, regional coordinators as diplomats. For example, in the Middle East region, there are a senior foreign trade representative, foreign trade diplomat, and he coordinates or she coordinates all the region. And it works very well. This is lack in the Turkish system. And also, Turkey is a latecomer for the international trade, actually.
Yep.
This is a problematic for the Turkish businessman. But mainly, I also emphasize that many of the Turkish companies just export-oriented. There is no international marketing, there is no global marketing, and so on. It needs to create some bases in many countries, for example, Ivory Coast and also China and Germany and the other countries. But many of the companies lack this vision, and it creates many problems for the export potential for the Turkish companies. And as you mentioned, there are some businessmen organizations. Many of the trade diplomats, trade attachés' role is now just representation for the other countries, and also monitoring the international politics and so on, international economic politics, country politics, and so on. For example, Italian trade agency, Korean trade agency, and so on. There are a privatization of these kinds of jobs all around the world, but Turkey has attempted many things, but unfortunately, it did not give fruit in Turkish system. As you mentioned, there are DEİK, Foreign Economic Relations Board, in the Turkish system, but also it does not work very well, I think, because there are many problems inside the DEİKs.
But DEİK is not, see, DEİK is only in Turkey. You don't have any office. You don't have any organization in
They have some.
their destination.
They have some, but it creates also, in the Turkish system, they have some of branch offices in the world, and also some kinds of organizations. For example, I forget the name of this organization, but as you know, in the Brussels, in the European Union, there are about 80,000 lobby organizations, but just in Turkey, it is İktisadi Kalkınma Vakfı, and also DEİK, and also some organization. It is very limited, but we do not understand that European Union Customs Union, and so on, affects our daily life in a very quiet manner, and we cannot understand the dynamics of the lobby and also the other things, what is going on in the European Union. We need a restructure of the international diplomacy, especially for the economic diplomacy, trade diplomacy, and you give many insights, and they are very insightful, I think. Dear Guillaume, thank you again for your contribution. I want to host you in the future many times about the discussions. Your job is very astonishing, very good, and you started your new company named Wukong Consultancy. It's an Asian oriented name, I think. Wukong. Yeah. What does it mean, by the way?
So Wukong is the name of a character from the Chinese mythology, from the literature. Sun Wukong, who is a monkey king. And there's a famous story called Journey to the West, where the monkey king was a guard for a monk who went to India to get the Buddhic scriptures and bring them back to China, to bring Buddhism back to China. And Wukong was his bodyguard. And the symbolic is, I'm like the bodyguard of companies who wants to go abroad to get business or set up partnership. So I will... Yeah.
Once you posted that, you are also interested in the martial arts.
Yeah, well, I was doing...
that is why you will be a good bodyguard for that.
I was doing Kung Fu, so I can be a real practical bodyguard. And also I was French champion in the monkey boxing. So the style of the Monkey King. So everything is connected. Yeah.
Okay, thank you again.
Do you want to
for participating?
Do you want to discuss about Europe and focus about Europe and Asia, or is there other topic?
I think, dear Guillaume, we can discuss this in the next month or in the next 2 weeks and so on, because the live streams are 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's very long, but if you want, you can also participate in our meetings. It is very beneficial for us. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
2 weeks later or 1 month later, again, I want to host you.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Thank you again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Ürününüzü ya da hizmetinizi yurt dışına mı satmak istiyorsunuz? Türkiye'nin ihracat ajansı BAZ Girişim yanınızda. Pazara girişten devlet desteklerine kadar her adımda sizinle. Hemen tıklayın. bazgirişim.com. BAZ Girişim, Türkiye'nin ihracat ajansı.